Boy, did that last video cause some drama. Nico responded. In fact, him and I talked offline, and I reached out to some manufacturers so I get a better idea of what this grand to know from MAEN in collaboration with Nico Leonard would cost. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chase, and this is all things random, mostly watch reviews with some random stuff sprinkled in between. This is going to be my one and only response video because I want to get back to doing what this channel was built on, and that is reviewing affordable watches, mostly affordable watches. Like right now, I'm wearing my Grand Seiko. So it's mostly affordable watches for the average everyday person with some random stuff to include luxury watches sprinkled in there. I am a normal guy. In fact, I am a hostage negotiator working for a police department. So I'm just a normal guy doing normal stuff here on YouTube. Watches are my passion, and honestly, whenever I dropped that video, there was just a few things that really bothered me, which is why I made the video. So let's discuss first right up front. Is Nico Leonard a scammer? And I will do the price point breakdown of the manufacturer in just a couple minutes. But first, let's answer the question, is Nico Leonard a scammer? Did he scam his subscribers with this watch collaboration? Well, I'm not saying he scammed anybody. I'm not calling him a scammer, but talking to him offline and knowing how much money he's making per watch really does make sense of why the watches are elevated in the price point that they are. I was surprised how open he was into how much money he's making per watch. And, you know, just to be fair, he can easily buy another Richard Mille with this single collaboration. Now, I'm not against capitalism. I love capitalism. I love making money. I'm here making money. I love buying expensive stuff just like anybody else. That being said, I think that it's still sort of a cash grab. Now, he is super proud of the watch.
For those who spent their hard-earned money on the new MAEN jumper, the Grand Tonneau, it genuinely means the world. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say a big thank you.
He said it over and over and over again. He's proud of what he made. Fine. He can be absolutely proud of what he made, and MAEN watches can be absolutely proud of what they made. I still think it's overpriced. And when you hear the price breakdown and why I think they probably kind of cut corners, it'll make a lot more sense. Now, MAEN Watches is known for their finishing, and they're known for actually having a Swiss-made stamp on the bottom of their dial. One thing that is obvious and the elephant in the room, and I don't mean Nico as the elephant, but the elephant in the room is going to be the fact that this thing has a Chinese movement in it. And not just that, but clearly because there's a Chinese movement in it, it makes you wonder if they used other Chinese parts. Now, not all Chinese parts are the same. You have low end and you have extremely high end. In fact, most of your luxury bags from Louis Vuitton, 80% of the bag is created in China, and then it's sent over to the Italian warehouse where they finish it, and then they put the Made in Italy brand on it. Trust me, a lot of this stuff is kind of a gray area in the luxury market, but I think what they ended up doing, because this is a one-off collaboration that is not going to be a staple of their watch brand, I'm going to argue that almost everything in this watch is probably Chinese made. Just going to throw that right out there on the table. Now, some of the prices vary. Let's just do the price breakdown now of the watch itself and why I still think, it could be half as much money offered to Nico's subscribers and they'd still get a great deal. Nico's just, I think, disconnected from the average everyday person. So let's first discuss the price breakdown of each point and why I think that it's still a cash grab. So I reached out to several manufacturers. I own Chase Straps, chasestraps.com, my own watch strap company. One of the things Nico said when he responded, he mentioned the fact that a few things. I'll post it right here on the video as I'm talking. You guys can read it. He mentioned that The tonneau shaped case is extremely unique and is a one-off design. Okay, I'll handle that in just a second. They say that they tore apart the SeaGull ST1721 module and did in-house modifications. We'll discuss probably the basic modifications they did, and I'll even give you the measurements of the actual movement and why. When he said, oh, you don't understand, we put it in a watch under 36 millimeters, this is amazing, why that's all just, to me, a bunch of hot air. And then we'll discuss the modifications they've done to it. We'll discuss, he mentioned this watch strap. And it really bothered me that he's like, you can't find an FKM rubber strap for under 100 pounds. Sure, maybe you, as a normal person, as a strap purchasing citizen of the world, can't find one for under 100 pounds. But that's retail. That's not even wholesale, and that's not even directly from the manufacturer. We're talking 3 different price points, and he's talking about one to kind of throw people off, I feel, where he's not truly being honest. If I buy a rubber strap from a manufacturer, in fact, I did send out some quotes because I myself am looking at creating a nice fluorine rubber strap for chase straps. And with tooling and the high quality rubber that's slightly thicker, slightly more industrious, right? Just a little more durable. The watch strap comes in at 20 bucks, even with the clasp. So that's 20 US dollars. That's not 100 pounds. And he's saying this is a unique strap for this watch. The only thing that's unique is the fact that it has like these horizontal lines or vertical lines, however you want to look at it, across the watch strap. But that's extremely easy to do. So is it unique? Sure. Is it costly to make? Not at all. So we're talking 20 to 30 bucks. We're going to start a list of pricing, 20 to 30 bucks for the strap and clasp that comes on it. Now, that's manufacturer pricing, and we all know that MAEN is a rather large watch company, so you know they're going to get discounts on everything. We're just talking if I built this watch. Now, second, the 316L stainless steel Grand tonneau shaped case. Now, all I could do is give basic measurements to a manufacturer. And of course, what they want is a 3D CAD design where they can look at all the measurements and they can see if their CNC machine can actually do the case and how much it would cost. Well, clearly, I'm not going to wait around for 4 months. And I told them, I'm doing this video. Can you guys give me kind of a rough estimate of what it would cost to build this similar case shape with these similar dimensions? And they said anywhere from $25 to $75. Now that's a giant $50 gap, and that's because they just didn't know unless they actually put it on their machines, unless they put it in their system and they were able to see precisely what was needed. Now, Gary from I Like Watches, Gary and James from I Like Watches. James is a buddy of his who actually is like this technical wizard who designed the Exciton 1, the Exciton 2, and the Academic. Now, I Like Watches, we link down below. You guys can go through the rabbit trail, go through everything in designing a watch from whole cloth. From whole cloth, meaning it's not a case that's off the shelf. It is a completely unique design to them, and they were able to build this watch for their subscribers, like delivered to the door with the packaging included from Kronos. Very high quality watch. I love the Exciton. Such a good watch for $300, for 300 bucks, right? So when they come and they tell you that, well, this is a very complicated process, it's really not. So $25 to $75 for the case. Now that includes a sapphire crystal for it. Now I could either do a higher quality, like domed sapphire crystal from another manufacturer, but 3 coats of AR undercoating on that sapphire is included, $25 to $75. $75 they said on the high end, simply because they just weren't sure. Now next in the elephant in the room, yes, is a SeaGull ST1721 jump hour movement. This is a movement that are in watches around $100 that you can find on AliExpress all day long. Now, one of the things that Nico made a big deal on his post is the fact that they took this movement, modified it in-house, and then put it in the watch? Well, yes, they did modify it in-house. Now, how much did they modify? Well, the actual movement itself is meant to have a single minute hand directly from the center. Well, clearly they took the minute hand off and they put a minute wheel on, and they took the seconds out. So, how much modification was actually created for this in-house modification? So the watch movement itself, if you and I were to buy it from any reputable source, is anywhere from 21 to 30 bucks for the movement retail. That's retail. Now, wholesale from SeaGull themselves, you can buy it for under $8. And depending on how many you buy, it could be as low as 6 and as low as 5. So keep that in mind. We'll just say around $8 if they purchased 999 or less. So they clearly purchased more, so there's going to be much more of a discount. And again, at the very end, there's probably going to be a 20% variation where I'm over because, again, how much Nico is getting paid for each watch. So the SeaGull ST1721, was it highly modified? Well, Nico makes the claim that it's going in a 36, it's really a 34 millimeter watch, but a watch under 36 millimeters. Now, if you look at the shape of the tonneau case, it depends on how the inside is CNC'd out. Now, he makes a big deal that this is a watch movement that should, I guess, be in a bigger watch, but the actual dimensions of the movement itself is less than 26 millimeters in diameter and less than 5 millimeters thick. So if you have a tonneau-shaped case that bows out in the center, it's not difficult to design a case that allows a 26 millimeter watch movement to insert in the center of it. So I think he wants to pretend, he wants to really defend his watch, and that's fine, he can defend it, but I'm coming in here with some facts and logic, and it's hard to argue with facts and logic. So was it in-house modified? Sure. How much modification did they really do? Well, replacing a hand with a wheel and maybe a rotor isn't really taking away the seconds. It's not a whole lot. So $8 for the movement. Now we're adding up price points here. $8 for the movement, and I even was generous and said $75 for the MAEN manufacturing to go through and modify the movement. It's really probably more like 25, but I'm being extra generous on this list. Now the dial is one of the ones I was looking at, is a basic steel sunburst dial, and it looks like it's done quite well, but dials can be manufactured extremely easy at dial manufacturers for anywhere from $5 to $20. So again, low end to high end. Now, I've already given time to the modifications. I've talked about the case, I talked about the strap, I talked about the crystal, I talked about the movement, and I talked about the dial. Now, MAEN, like I said, has Swiss watches stamped Swiss made in their catalog. This is not. This is a one-off design in collaboration with Nico Leonard. There is no reason why MAEN wouldn't outsource all the parts, now this is just speculation, to China because it is a one-off watch that they're not going to continue to manufacture and make. So, like any business, they're going to want to get the best bang for buck, especially when they're paying Nico as this brand ambassador who's pushing out to his millions of subscribers so that he can make a buck and MAEN can make a buck. So, I would bet that 90 to 95% or more of the watch parts come from China. I'm not saying a Chinese manufacturer is making the watch. I'm saying that they are getting the parts from Chinese manufacturers, shipping it back to MAEN, and then assembling it in their warehouse. I'm telling you, that's how it works, and people in the watch industry knows that that's how it works. So what are the overall prices on the low end? Prices on the low end are about $133 on the low end and $208 on the high end. Now imagine MAEN watches as this larger watch company looking at these manufacturers, and these manufacturers know that this is going to be continuous business, or there's potential business in the future, are going to give them discounts galore. So it's even going to be less than that. So really think more like $170 on the high end to under $100 on the low end per watch built at MAEN. Now, of course, you can also include maybe $20 or $30 for packaging, because when it comes to watch boxes and packaging, that stuff really doesn't cost that much. It's under $50, and I would say it's even under $30, especially when you look at buying a large quantity. So when it comes to building a watch, if it's going straight from the watch company to the individual, there's a rule of thumb that's called ×3. Now, some companies do this, and some companies like MAEN clearly mark up their watches a lot more. But generally, when people are trying to be open and honest, it's ×3. So if it costs me $150 to build the watch, I would sell it at $450 because that's ×3. If I build it for $200, then I would sell it for $600. That's ×3. So this watch, I would say, probably is about $130, being generous, US dollars. So what's that? Like 110 euros is what it costs to actually build it. And then they have to pay Nico per watch, and they want to make money. And they could still get away with selling these watches for 500 or 600 euros. Then it would actually be a good deal. It just wouldn't be, again, I'm going to keep saying, a cash grab. No matter how much someone wants to get behind their product, you have to understand that it is overpriced. And it's overpriced because Nico is pushing it. It's overpriced because it's a collaboration with a YouTuber. And people want to feel this connection with the YouTuber that they follow. Because it says Pride and Pinion on the dial, they're now willing to pay a premium for that. And that's really all. It's like buying a Rolex. You're only paying a premium to get a Rolex. The difference is a Rolex is going to go up in value. This isn't. And good luck servicing that SeaGull ST 1721. Anyway, what do you guys think about this video? I already addressed that, is Nico a scammer? No, I don't think he is. I also don't think he's the main designer of the watch. I think what ended up happening was they did a collaboration, and MAEN said, hey, what do you want? He says, hey, I want a jump hour. Okay, cool. Here's a design. What do you think about this? And he says, oh, I want a modification here and a modification there. And they're like, oh, okay. And that's what took 2 years to design the watch, was because it takes months to go back and forth when it comes to designing something, again, from whole cloth. I'm not saying they didn't, it's a design that they pulled off the shelf. All I'm saying is it wasn't nearly as complicated or expensive as Nico is letting on. If you guys like it, buy what you want. But know what you're buying before you buy it, and don't get duped. Anyway, I'm Chase. This is All Things Random. Back to affordable watch reviews after this video. I appreciate you sticking by if you're still here. And thank you if you subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.